The core truth of attraction. The world has lied to you about what it takes to be attractive. You've been told that you need a six pack, a luxury par, or a rehearsed script of pickup lines to get a woman's attention. But if you look at the real world, you'll see men who have none of those things walking hand in hand with incredible women. This is because attraction isn't a checklist of external assets. It is a return to basic, primal principles that most men have forgotten. You don't need to add more stuff to your life to be desired. Instead, you need to strip away the desperation and the superficial tactics that are masking your true value. The formula for making a woman desire you starts with a radical shift in how you perceive yourself. When you stop viewing yourself as a seeker and start viewing yourself as the prize, the entire dynamic changes instantly. The fog of failure. Most men live in a constant fog of failure because they are simply trying too hard. They spend years chasing, pleading, and performing only to be met with cold shoulders and just friends speeches. This happens because they don't realize that attracting women is a state of mind, not a physical labor. Your internal reality is always broadcasted to the world through your subcommunications. If you walk into a room feeling lucky to even be noticed, you are radiating a frequency of low value. If you don't believe, deep in your soul, that you deserve the company of a high-quality woman, she will sense that leak in your confidence immediately. The golden rule is simple but absolute. She feels what you feel. If you feel anxious, she feels awkward. If you feel inferior, she feels superior and loses interest. Success begins the moment you clear the fog and realize that your internal state dictates her external reaction. Energy over aesthetics. It is a massive misconception that women judge men primarily on their bank accounts or their jawlines. While those things might get a fleeting glance, they are not what create the deep, visceral pull of attraction. What women truly judge is the energy you project, the vibe that dictates whether she feels safe, excited, or bored in your presence. If you approach a woman with shaky hands and a racing heart, your nervous energy makes her feel uneasy, which leads to an instant rejection. However, if you move with the calm, grounded confidence of a man who is already naturally desired, she will instinctively respond to that magnetic pull. You must stop operating from a place of lack. Stop trying to win her over with favors or masking your feelings of inadequacy with hollow, over-the-top compliments. The most attractive thing you can do is exist in a space where you don't need her to validate you. The best way to impress a woman is, quite literally, to stop trying to impress her and start being the man she wants to impress. The power of indifference. The dirty secret about modern dating is that most high-quality women are absolutely exhausted by the men they encounter. From the moment they walk out the door, they are bombarded by men who pander to them, compliment them excessively, and treat them like they are fragile glass statues. When you show up and do the exact same thing, you aren't being nice. You're being predictable, and predictable is the fastest way to become invisible. The power of indifference is your ability to exist in her space without needing anything from her. It's about being the exception to the rule. While every other guy is essentially auditioning for her approval, you are simply enjoying the moment. Think about the average guy at a bar. He walks up, shoulders slumped, and asks if he can buy her a drink. He's essentially asking for permission to exist in her presence, and she can feel his desperation for a yes. Now, compare that to the natural. He walks up, asks her what the best drink on the menu is, and then playfully tells her she should buy him one. It's a total pattern interrupt. It's unexpected, it's bold, and it shows he isn't there to worship her. This shift from seeker to chooser triggers an immediate spark of interest because you've proven that your happiness isn't dependent on her reaction. Breaking the validation trap. The moment you start seeking validation from a woman, you have already lost the game of attraction. Seeking approval is the loudest signal of low self esteem you can possibly send. Most men walk into an interaction terrified of losing a girl they haven't even met yet. This fear forces them into a performance. They start filtering their words, monitoring their body language, and acting like a good boy just to avoid the sting of rejection. To a woman, this niceness smells like pure desperation, and it is an absolute biological turnoff. You have to understand that attraction isn't a conscious choice she makes based on how polite you are. It is a primal biological response to high value behavior. High value behavior is rooted in self sufficiency. When you look to her to confirm that you're doing a good job or that you're on the right path in the conversation, you are surrendering all your masculine power. You become a follower, and women are never attracted to men they can lead. As long as you are waiting for her to give you the green light to feel confident, she will never give it to you because she's looking for the man who carries his own light. Mastering rejection. The true hallmark of a high value man is that he is never, under any circumstances, tied to the outcome of an interaction. For most men, a no or a cold shoulder feels like a personal attack on their identity. It leaves them devastated, embarrassed, and ready to retreat. But a man who truly masters attraction views rejection as nothing more than a tiny, insignificant piece of the dating landscape. It has zero impact on his self-worth because his value is generated from within, not from the opinion of a stranger. If you approach a woman and she tells you to go away or acts like a jerk, your reaction dictates your status. The average guy apologizes and crawls away in shame, confirming he was low value all along. The high value man stays indifferent or becomes playfully amused. He might say, "Ouch, I guess I should have listened to my mom when she warned me about Angry Birds," and walk away with a smile. When you lose the fear of the no, you unlock a level of freedom that most men will never know. You become free to be yourself, to be edgy, and to actually enjoy the interaction for what it is. Ironically, the less you care about being rejected, the less it actually happens, because that lack of fear is the most magnetic quality a man can possess. Stop adapting to her. The biggest mistake you can make is transforming your life into a mirror of a woman's preferences just to keep her around. When you start changing your hobbies, your music taste, your schedule, or even your core opinions to align with hers, you are sending a loud and clear message. You believe her reality is more important than yours. This is the hallmark of a follower, and it is the fastest way to kill attraction. Women aren't looking for a man they can mold like clay. They're looking for a man who is a solid rock. If you are willing to abandon your own identity the moment she shows a slight preference for something else, she realizes that you have no backbone. You essentially become a dead fish in the stream of her life, drifting wherever she pushes you. This lack of resistance might seem like you're being agreeable or supportive, but in reality, it signals that you view yourself as lower value. You are telling her that you need to change who you are just to be worthy of her time. And once a woman realizes she can control your identity, she will inevitably lose respect for you. A high value man doesn't just live in the world, he builds his own. He has his own mission, his own set of principles, and a lifestyle that he has curated because it genuinely fulfills him. When you operate from this position of strength, you aren't looking for a woman to dictate your direction. You are looking for a partner who is excited to join you on the path you're already walking. If she doesn't appreciate the way you live or the things you value, then she simply doesn't deserve a seat in your reality. It is not your job to edit your soul to make her feel more comfortable. In fact, the moment you stop catering to her every whim and stand firm in your own truth, you become infinitely more magnetic. It shows that you are a man of conviction who isn't afraid to stand alone if necessary. The right woman won't want to break your world apart and rebuild it. She will be captivated by the strength of the world you've already created and will strive to be a part of it. Ultimately, you have to realize that your life is your own kingdom and you are the one who sets the laws. If you start tearing down the walls of your personality to please a guest, you'll eventually find yourself living in a ruin. Never compromise your core self for the sake of temporary approval. If a woman finds certain aspects of your life unappealing, that is her choice, but it should never be your cue to change. A man who is willing to lose a woman to keep his integrity is a man who will eventually attract a woman who values that integrity above all else. By refusing to adapt your life to suit her expectations, you force her to respect your boundaries and your character. This creates a healthy dynamic where she has to earn her place in your world rather than you begging for a place in hers. Remember, a leader stays the course even when the wind changes. A follower turns the boat around at the first sign of a storm. Be the leader of your own life and let the right people follow your lead. The abundance mindset. The absolute foundation of this entire strategy, the one thing that separates the high value man from everyone else, is the realization that we live in a world of total abundance. Most men operate from a place of extreme scarcity, acting as if every attractive woman they meet is the last one on earth. This scarcity mindset is a poison that seeps into your body language, your voice, and your decision making. When you believe that opportunities are rare, you become needy, clingy, and terrified of making a mistake. You fixate on the one girl you met at a coffee shop or a party, putting all your hopes and dreams onto a stranger who hasn't earned that position. This creates an invisible pressure that women can feel from a mile away. It tells her that you don't have other options, that your life is empty, and that you are desperate for her to fill it. To be truly attractive, you must shatter this illusion and recognize that there is an endless supply of incredible, high-quality women in the world. When you shift your lens from scarcity to abundance, your entire reality transforms. You no longer walk into a room wondering if the women there will like you. Instead, you walk in wondering if any of them are interesting enough for you to like them. This isn't about being arrogant. It's about having a deep, grounded knowledge that your happiness is not tied to any single person's reaction. If an interaction doesn't go well, or if a woman isn't interested, an abundance-minded man doesn't feel a sting of rejection. He simply realizes that she wasn't the right fit and moves on to the next opportunity. This lack of desperation is precisely what makes you magnetic. When a woman senses that you aren't trying to trap her or beg for her attention because you have a life full of potential and other connections, she becomes naturally curious. She starts to wonder what makes you so secure and why you aren't chasing her like every other guy. Adopting an abundance mindset requires you to stop living in your head and start taking massive action in the real world. You cannot think your way into abundance. You have to experience it. By talking to more people, expanding your social circles, and constantly putting yourself in new environments, you prove to your own brain that opportunities are everywhere. Once you truly internalize this, the fear of losing a girl vanishes because you know there are 1,000 more right behind her. This freedom allows your true personality to shine through without the filter of anxiety. You become bolder, funnier, and more direct because you have nothing to lose. This is the ultimate cheat code for attraction. The less you feel you need any specific outcome, the more likely you are to get the outcome you want. Shift your mindset, trust in the abundance of the world, and watch as your dating life goes from a struggle for survival to a wealth of choice.